Welcome to Economic Analysis. This course is designed for MBA program. Because some students have never taken any economic classes, therefore the course will cover the basic but very important economic knowledge. We start with chapter 3. In this chapter, we explore the model of demand and supply, which is the most powerful tools in economics. We use it to explain how prices and quantities are determined in the market. In order to simplify the analysis, we assume the market environment is perfectly competitive market, which means the forces of demand and supply are sole determinants of the market price. Such a market meets the conditions of many buyers and sellers, all firms selling identical products, and no barriers to new firms entering the market. And also, we will also, apply the ceteris paribus condition known as holding everything else constant, which is the requirement that when analyzing the relationship between the two variables such as the price and the quantity demanded over other variables must be held constant. We have three ways to study this model and view the basic elements of the supply and demand. First, there are supply and demand schedules, in which the equilibrium price is found by matching the quantity supplied with the quantity demanded. Second, there are supply and demand diagrams as presented in most figures. Finally, there are supply and demand equations that enable us to find the equilibrium price and quantity by solving for the unknowns in the two equations. Let's check the demand first. We know the most successful businesses are the ones that respond best to the consumer demand. But what determines consumers' demand for a product? The main factor in most consumer decisions is the price of product. So it makes sense to begin with the price when analyzing the decisions of the consumers to buy a product. Demand schedule is a table that shows the relationship between the price of product and the quantity of the product demanded. Quantity demanded is the amount of the goods and services that a consumer is willing and able to purchase at a given price. It's important here to note that when we mention demand, we are considering that the consumer is both willing and able to buy. Demand curve is a curve that shows the relationship between the price of a product and the quantity of the product demanded. Market demand is a demand by all consumers of a given goods. Here we go. This table is a demand schedule. It shows the relationship between the price of the pizza and the quantity of the pizza demanded. This curve graphically shows the relationship between the price and the quantity demanded for pizza. So the table and the graph both show that as the price of the pizza falls, the quantity demanded increase. For example, when the price of the pizza is 6 per slice, consumers buy 100 slices. Per month. When the price drops to 1 here, and consumers buy 600 slices, therefore the demand curve for the pizza is downward sloping. We call this negative relationship between the price and the quantity demanded the law of demand, the rule that holding everything else constant, when the price of product falls, the quantity demanded of the product will increase, and when the price of product rises, quantity demanded of the products will decrease. We have to make clear the difference between a shift of demand curve and a movement along a demand curve. What does that mean? So let's check next slide. Shifting the demand curve. When consumers increase the quantity of a product they want to buy at a given price, the market demand curve shifts to the right from demand 1 to demand 2. That means at any given prices there are more demand. When consumers decrease the quantity of product they want to buy at any given price, the demand curve shifts to left from demand 1 to demand 3. We call there is a decrease in demand. Those are the shifts in demand. So what we should do here is we need to find out what are the most important variables which shift the market demand, which shift the demand curve, make the demand shift to the right, or make the demand decrease, shift to the left. The variables, the five most important variables are income. How income affects the demand depends on if the product is normal goods or inferior good. Normal good is a good for which the demand increases as income increases, and it decreases as income falls. Inferior good is a good for which the demand increases as income falls and decreases as income. The prices of the related goods can also affect consumers' demand for a product. There are two kinds of related goods: substitutes and complements. Substitutes are goods and services that can be used for the same purpose, such as Coke and Pepsi. If the price of a substitute good goes up, consumers buy less of a substitute good and more of this good. Demand will increase. Complementary goods are the goods and services that are used together, such as a hot dog and hot dog buns. If the price of complementary goods goes up, consumers will buy less of a complementary good and less of these goods. Tastes are very subjective elements, such as the ad campaigns or trend can enter into consumers' decision to buy a product. For example, the popularity of low carbohydrate diets caused a decline in the demand for some goods, such as bread and donuts. Population and demographics are the factors can affect the demand of a product. As the population of the United States increases, so will the number of consumers, and demand for those most products will increase. Expected future prices. Consumers choose not only which products will buy, but also when to buy them. For example, if enough consumers become convinced that houses will be selling for lower prices in 3 months, the demand for houses will decrease now, as some consumers postpone their purchase to wait for expected price decrease. Okay, let's check those graphs. In the following 3 slides are talking about we're gonna show the shifts of the demand affected by the variables graphically. So let's check those graphs, show how the changes in variables shift the demand curves. For example, increase in income will increase the demand for a normal good. Therefore, the demand curve shifts to the right. And if there is an increase in income will decrease the demand for inferior goods, demand curve shifts to the left. So please check the other graphs on your own. Okay, now we come back to the difference between the change in demand and the change in quantity demanded. This is also the difference between a shift of demand curve and a movement along a demand curve. For example, if the price of the tablet computers falls from 700 to 600, the result will be a movement along the demand curve from point A to point B, an increase in quantity demanded from 3 million tablets to 4 million tablets. If, it's not the price change, it's, let's say, consumers' income increase, or if another factors change that make consumer want more of the tablet computers at every price, the demand curve will shift to the right, an increase in demand. So in this case, increase in demand from D1 to D2 causes the quantity of tablets to computers demanded at a price of 700 to increase from 3 million tablets at point A to 5 million tablets at point C. So movement along the curve caused by the price change, and the shift, or we say change in demand, caused by other factors. Now let's check the supply side of the market. Let's take care of some concepts first. Quantity supplied, the amount of the goods and services that a firm is willing and able to supply at a given price. Supply schedule is a table that shows the relationship between the price of product and the quantity of the product supplied. Supply curve is a curve that shows the relationship between the price of product and the quantity of product. Again, similar to the schedule and a curve for demand, as the price changes, the pizza places change the quantity they are willing to supply. We can show this as a supply schedule in the table or as a supply curve on the graph. The supply schedule and the supply curve both show that as the price of the pizza rises, and the pizza places will increase the supply. Increase the quantity they supply. At a price of 4 per slice, pizza places will supply 300 slices of the pizza. Okay, at a price of 2, and pizza places will supply 100 slices. So the negative relationship between the price and the quantity supplied reveals the law of supply. That's holding everything else constant. Increase in price causes increase in the quantity supplied, and a decrease in price causes a decrease in the quantity supplied. So there is a positive relationship between the price and the quantity supplied. When we're talking about the law of the supply, we're talking about the movement along the supply curve. The price changed, quantity of supply changed along the supply curve. But shifting the supply curve are caused by the other things, other variables. So when the firms increase the quantity of product they want to sell at any given prices, the supply curve shifts to the right. We see there is an increase in supply. When the firms decrease the quantity of product they want to sell at any given prices, the supply curve shifts to the left. We see there is a decrease in supply. Okay, now let's talk about the variables, the other factors that shift the supply curve, the market supply curve. The following are the most important variables that shift the market supply: price of inputs. A change in the price of inputs, anything used in the production of a good or service, is the most likely factor to cause the supply curve for a product to shift. Usually, an increase in the price of inputs increases the cost of your production. Therefore, decrease the supply of products. Supply curve move to the left. Technological change. A positive or negative change in the ability of a firm to produce a given level of output with a given quantity of inputs. So a positive technological change can help the firms produce more output with same amount of inputs, therefore increase the supply. So positive technological change can shift the supply curve to the right. Price of substitutes in production. Alternative products that a firm could produce are called substitutes in production. If the price of a substitute increases, then the supply of this good will decrease. Supply curve shifts to the left. Number of firms in the market. A change in the number of firms in the market will change the supply. The more the firms are in the market, the more they supply. Supply curve shifts to the right. Expected future prices. If a firm expects that the price of the product will be higher in the future than it is today, then it has an incentive to decrease supply now and increase it in the future. The supply will shift to the left. Here are the graphs showing us how the other variables shift the supply curve. So, for example, if there is increase in the price of an input, that means the cost of production goes up, so the supply will decrease. Supply curve move to the left. Please check other graphs on your own. After focus on demand and supply respectively. Now we put them together to get the demand and supply model. Market equilibrium. The purpose of the market is to bring buyers and sellers together. Then we get the point where the quantity consumers willing and able to buy just equal to the quantity sellers willing and able to sell at the same price. We call it the price equilibrium price and the quantity equilibrium quantity. So equilibrium price is the price that equates the quantity demanded with the quantity supplied, and the equilibrium quantity is the amount that people are willing to buy and the sellers are willing to offer at the equilibrium price level. We bring together the market demand curve for pizza and the market supply curve. Notice that the demand curve crosses the supply curve at only one point. This point represents a price of 4 and a quantity of 300 slices of pizza. We call them equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity respectively. What if pizza places the charged price higher than this equilibrium price, say at $5 per slice? Then the quantity supplied will be 400 and the quantity demanded will be 200. There are 200 units or slices surplus. If pizza places charged price lower than the equilibrium price, say at 3, then more people willing and able to buy at 400 slices, where the pizza place is only willing and able to supply 200 at this price, at $3. Therefore, there will be a 200 shortage. Let's back to the slide 25. So the shortage is a market situation in which the quantity demanded exceeds the quantity supplied. Shortage occurs at the price below the equilibrium level. When shortage occurs, they usually gonna beat up the price. Surplus, a market situation in which the quantity supplied exceeds the quantity demanded. Surplus occurs at the price above the equilibrium price. When surplus happens, it's usually gonna bring the price down to the equilibrium level. Now we are going to use the comparative statics analysis to apply the model of demand and supply to the market. Okay, the process of the comparative statics analysis include state all the assumptions needed to construct a model. Begin by assuming that the model is in equilibrium. So begin by assuming that the model is in equilibrium. Introduce a change in the model, so a condition of disequilibrium is created. Find the new point of equilibrium. Compare the new equilibrium point with the original one. Okay, let's check this example. How we're gonna use comparative statics. Step 1. Assume all the factors except the price of the pizza are constant, so we have some consumptions. Then, buyers of demand and sellers of supply are presented by the lines shown here. Next step, let's begin our analysis in equilibrium as shown by Q1 and Q2. By Q1 and price 1. So then, bring in a change. Assume that a new study shows pizza to be the most nutritious of all fast foods. Then the next change gonna be the consumers will increase their demand for pizza as a result. So demand curve move to the right, shift to the right, because there is an increase in demand. Okay, so the shift in demand results in a new equilibrium price, price 2 and quantity 2. Now let's compare the new equilibrium point with the original one. We see that both equilibrium price and quantity have increased. So we can draw our conclusion is if there is an increase in demand, then the both price and quantity demanded will go up. So this example is a simple illustration of how we use comparative statistics analysis. Before we use comparative statistics analysis, we also need to define two concepts, the short run and the long run in economics. The short run is a period of time in which sellers already in the market respond to a change in equilibrium prices by adjusting variable inputs. And the buyers already in the market respond to a change in equilibrium price by adjusting the quantity demanded for the goods and or services. So the shorter run change shows the rationing function of the price. What is the rationing function of the price? That means the change in the market price to eliminate the imbalance between the quantity supplied and demanded. How do we understand this? Let's check the next slides. For example, if there is an increase in demand from demand 1 to demand 2, and the price is still at price 1, the shortage, as you can see here, the shortage will occur. So the shortage will beat the price, the shortage occur means there is disequilibrium between the quantity demanded and the quantity supplied. So this shortage will beat the price up to price 2 until the price matches the new equilibrium point. So we see an increase in demand cause equilibrium prices and quantity to rise. If one or some of the variables change to make the demand decrease from demand 1 to demand 2, so demand curve shift to the left, and the price does not change, still stay at the price 1, then the disequilibrium between the quantity supplied and quantity demanded will occur. We call that a surplus. So therefore the surplus will give the price downward pressure to bring the price down to the price 2, where the price equal to the new equilibrium. So we see a decrease in demand causes equilibrium prices and quantity to fall. Same reason can be applied to supply. An increase in the supply causes the equilibrium prices to fall and the equilibrium quantity to rise. A decrease in supply curve move to the left, will cause the equilibrium prices to rise and the equilibrium quantity to fall. So those are the changes or of the analysis of the changes during the short run. How about the long run? So let's see how we define the long run. The long run is a period of time in which new sellers may enter the market. Existing sellers may exit from the market. Existing sellers may adjust the fixed factors of production. Buyers may react to a change in equilibrium prices by changing their tastes and preferences. During the long run, the prices will carry out the function we call allocating functions. So that is help the resources move into or out of the market in response to a change in the equilibrium prices. So let's check the following slides to see how this is going to work. Example, let's assume there is the initial change. There is a decrease in demand from demand 1 to demand 2, from demand to demand 2. So demand decrease, move to the left. And the result is there is a reduction in equilibrium prices and quantity. So demand decrease, so that's the original equilibrium point, and now that's the new equilibrium point. So both price and quantity demanded fall. Okay, that's the change in the short run. But in the long run, there will be the following adjustment. So because the price, both price and the quantity demanded fall, so the supply, the firms, they're gonna move some resources out of the market. They will cut back the production. So there is a leftward shift in the supply curve from supply 1 to supply 2. Okay, now let's check the demand 2 and the supply 2. We get the new equilibrium prices and a new equilibrium quantity. So price will be at price 3 and quantity demanded will be at the Q3. Okay, in this case, price 1 and price 3 happen to be the same, but most of the times price 1 and price 3 are not the same. It depends on the how large the change of the supply or the change of the demand is. Okay, initial change. There is a demand increase. So demand move from demand 1 to demand 2. We have the original original equilibrium price, price 1, and quantity 1, and now it's price 1. Sorry, there is price 2 and quantity 2. So because the demand increase caused the both price and quantity demanded increase, that will give the supply the firms incentive, for making more money. They will increase the supply, so they move resources into the market. Supply move from supply 1 to supply 2. Then we got the new equilibrium price and quantity now. That's price 3 and quantity 3. So this just shows the price is the rationing function. So price is a guide. Price guides the resources going in and out of the market. These mechanisms of the demand and supply and the function of the price are called the invisible hand. So we basically done with the first two approaches, how we analyze the demand and supply and market, and how we explain the prices and the quantity determined in the market. So now let's check the third approach of how we explain the demand and supply model the mathematical way. Okay, so the demand function can be expressed mathematically as Q quantity demanded equal to the function of the price x1, x2, x3, xn. So here just means where the QD, Q sub D is quantity demanded, P equal to the price. From x1 to xn means the other factors believed to affect the quantity demanded, such as the income, the price of related products, tastes, population, what we just learned in the above slides. So using pizza as our example, let's assume that price and non-price factors affect the demand for pizza in the following ways. So QD, the quantity demanded, equal to negative minus 100 P plus 1.5 price of the hot dog minus 5 times price of soft drinks plus 20 A plus 15 pop. So here the Q sub D is quantity demanded for pizza pieces. P sub HD is the price of the hot dogs. We use the unit of cents. And P sub SD is the price of soft drinks, cents. A is advertising expenditures. The unit are the thousands of dollars. Pop is a percentage of the population aged 10 to 35. So applying the other holding other things constant condition, we suppose we hold constant or the constant or other factors affecting the quantity demanded for pizza except the price, by assuming the values of these non-price factors to be. So the price of the hot dog is 100 cents, $1. Price of soft drink is 75 cents. Advertising expenditures is 20. It's actually $20,000, but we use 20. Population, percentage of population aged 10 to 35 is 35. Okay, let's substituting these values into equation. Gives us Q sub D equal to minus 100 times price plus 1.5 times 100 minus 5 times 75 plus 20 times 20 plus 15 times 35. Then in the end we get 700 minus 100 times price. This equation is the same as the curve we used in our slides. So we now focus on the supply by assuming the supply equation is the same as the curve used in the also in our slide in the table 3.4 and figure 3.3 on page 50 in the textbook. So this equation can be expressed as quantity supplied equal to minus 100 plus 100 times price. Here you go in slides 18. This graph and this schedule is actually what we used for our equation. Okay, once the supply-demand equations are given, there are several ways to find the equilibrium price and the quantity. One way is to solve for the demand and supply equations simultaneously. This is done by first setting up the two equations in the following ways. Put them together. So QD is 700 minus 100 times price. QIs is minus 100 plus 100 times price. So we can eliminate price by adding the equations together. This gives us 2Q equal to 600. We add up them. So 2Q equal 700 minus 100 is 600, and these two cancels each other out. So this gives us 2Q equal to 600 and Q is 300. To find the equilibrium price P, we simply return to either the demand or supply equation, insert the values for the quantity equilibrium quantity 300, and solve for the price. Using quantity demanded equal to 700 minus 100 P, this gives us 300 equal to 700 minus 100 times price, so price is 4. Okay, if you have any questions, please let me know, and I will set up the online office hour. Send me email if you're gonna join. Thanks. See you next time.